Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, wow. Wow, Marshall.
Ramsey! Sorry, just working on something from our last episode there.
Just doing a little picking,
Just picking that lock, baby.
picking the lock.
Illegal entry is my life. So what are we working on today?
Well, I have had a few experiences here recently that just reminded me of just sort of a general life principle.
Ooh.
It's just a general life principle. And I realize that I do it probably because I'm my mother's son, to be honest with you. But it's something anybody can do. And have seen a number of folks do it recently. And here's the principle is figure out one more question to ask.
Whew.
That's it.
I like that.
Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful life.
Yes. Yeah. When you said key life principle, I thought you were going to go with don't share your needles. But yeah, this is much better. Much better.
A little more
All right.
wholesome too. Yeah. A
The
little more wholesome.
so the concept is right. Ask one more question.
Ask one more question.
All
Yeah.
right. So you're going to have to give us an example of
Yeah.
how this worked and why it was cool.
Right. So, I can give you a few examples actually. Let me give you the one that just happened that made me realize, oh, this is a thing. I'm getting my tonsils out, Marshall. In a couple days, I will be tonsilless, and I'm very excited about it. But I had to go to the hospital today for the pre-op, appointment where they, take blood samples and test me for COVID and all that stuff. And we're basically just the nurse and I filling out a worksheet, right? So there's a set of questions to be asked. But this was a very good nurse. She a couple times did this, and one in particular, it really stood out, but she had to fill out, something about what I was going to be doing the next couple days, just verifying that I wasn't going to be traveling or, so on.
Operating heavy equipment.
Right. Or as the questionnaire said, making major life choices. Like that's off the list, apparently. No major life choices for a couple days.
Good to know.
That's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But I said, yeah, I just really just talk to people for a living. So, I'll just be kind of, laying low. And she just looked up and looked in my eyes and she said, well, what do you do? Now, you wouldn't think there's, not much to that, but I told her briefly, and that led to her asking a question, and that led to a question. And so next thing you know, we're having a really easy going conversation. I mean, this is somebody that you would have been fine, meeting over dinner or, seeing at a party or something. You would have enjoyed talking to them. And I realized, what really worked there was that, she was interested in me. People are always interested in people that are interested in them. I mean, it's just, that's just how life is.
Oh, yeah.
But B is that she got curious about something that wasn't part of the, the routine that we were going through. And asking that one more question led into a conversation. So our relationship went a lot deeper in the, 15 minutes we spent together than it probably would have if I had just had somebody checking the boxes. So I know it seems, almost simplistic when I say it that way, but it kind of is simplistic. Like if she had not asked an additional question, I would not have walked away from that going, wow, that was a great nurse. This is going to be a good experience. I'm looking forward to having if I'm going to have the surgery, I'm glad I'm having it there. That's what I walked away thinking. So there's an example of what it looked like to just ask one more question.
Oh, I like that. And I also like the fact that it was a what question, a question beginning with the word what,
right.
Just leads
Right.
to all sorts of good things. And then the part that I also picked up on was that she looked you in the eye.
Yeah.
And she asked in such a way that you believed that she sincerely wanted to know.
Right.
Right. There was something about the tone, the body language, the expression of the question, and the question was crafted well that led to this great conversation. So this additional question with sincerity sounds like it can take you pretty far.
That's right. And, you were referencing our lock picking conversation earlier, which is a previous episode. We'll, invite you to go check out that episode. But if you'll recall, I was mentioning somebody I knew who had made a real presence for themselves on YouTube with basically Roush Mustangs and parts and so on. And you don't know this, Mike, but I have been in correspondence with that gentleman since we talked. And if you'll recall, I couldn't remember the year that this all started. And so I had texted him, hey, man, what year did you launch that business? And it was just one question, right? But there was a follow-up to that. And I asked the follow-up, and I have learned, oh my goodness, so many things that I didn't realize were happening at the time about some work I was doing with clients and some things going on in his business. And I'm talking, I think I have the beginnings of a screenplay. I mean, I honestly do. Like it's become that intense, some personal awareness and struggles mixed with, a really interesting work environment. And I just got a whole story that I wouldn't have if I hadn't asked just the one doggone question. So there's always something, I knew the story, I thought, but then I followed up with a text message just saying, hey, John, what year was that it started? Well, it was the year that such and such happened. What? Such and such happened? That was sort of the way the conversation went.
Right.
I'm not even sure that the question matters in some cases. I think John knew that I was genuinely curious, much like I thought this nurse was genuinely curious when she looked me in the eye. But something that allowed there to be more discovery, more things you don't know that you ask about. That's what I got from it.
Oh yeah. Well, and questions that come to mind that I've used over time is, what do you like most about your job?
Yeah.
Right. What would be a perfect day in your life? Right. What? Yeah. And all of a sudden, yeah, you find out much more richer kind of things about people.
Yeah.
And so just having those conversations, right? What are your goals? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Right.
Things like that. So all of these are questions that take you deeper. When you first suggested the topic, I thought of it as something completely different. Right. I looked at it from a clarification of a conversation kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage my managers and really any of my workshops, before you respond to anybody, ask one more question. If you're the manager and customer walks up and says, you people have no idea how to provide a great customer experience.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of talking, immediately answering, well, our Google score is 4.9, and
yeah. Right.
The question, okay, so what do you mean by customer experience, right? What do you mean by not providing, or what do you mean, just give me, and I want to get a little more clarification before I respond. And we've all seen this, right? So you're standing there observing a conversation, and somebody says something, and then somebody else responds with something else, and it misses, right? They're not talking about the same thing, and you're sitting there like, oh, that ain't working.
Yeah.
That conversation.
It's so painful to watch.
Oh yeah, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get worse because now both people are frustrated.
Yep.
You're not listening to me. Well, you're not hearing me. It's just awful. And so all that could be solved with just one more question before you respond.
Yep.
And I found this works incredibly well in my life. So somebody comes home and says, I had a bad day. All right. So what made it a bad day?
Mm-hmm.
Now we can determine, right? And I figured out after 31 years of marriage, I don't always have to respond with a solution.
Right.
Sometimes I just listen and go, that just
Yep.
sounds like a really bad day.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I now know what the elements of that was.
Yeah.
The other trick to it is it actually gives you more time to think of a good answer. So it's a stalling technique, right? Like, I'm not really sure how to answer that, so I'm going to ask a question.
Right.
Well, someplace in the back of my head processes, the heck am I going to say here? And so yeah, you get the greatest opportunity to respond to what's truly relevant to the person you're having a conversation with.
Yeah, and you're bringing in the question, what do you mean by fill in the blank, right? And another one that I was always trained on that sort of goes with that is, what led you to that conclusion?
Right.
What are the things that led you to that conclusion? And again, that's a it's kind of a safe question. Instead of me saying, why do you think that? Why do you feel that way? That's stupid. You can say, well, what led you to, feeling that way about that subject, or what led you to believe that that was going on, or whatever it is. And what they start doing when you ask that question is giving you the story. So, so they start recreating the observations that they made that led them to that conclusion that they have. I think the bottom line here is that there has to be some natural curiosity that you carry into these conversations. And we want to talk more about that in a future episode. Just the idea of, what do we mean by growth mindset, or learner mindset, or natural curiosity, or fill in the blank. But that's going to be a separate episode that we'll sort of piggyback with this one. I do want to say, though, just for the record, that there are many, many previous episodes that cover in different shades this idea that we're talking about now. We had a whole series on, ways that you coach, a whole series on how to have difficult conversations. And a lot of this boils down to having that sort of curiosity mindset, and getting the advantage of being willing to say, I don't know, so I should ask more questions. Sometimes it's just not even going to matter what that question is. Just the fact that you're showing it, that natural curiosity goes somewhere. I switched to a new internet provider, so I've got fiber optic internet. Gig down, gig up, Marshall. That's what the life we're living now. Yeah.
Welcome you to the 21st century.
Right. You've been there for a long time with your little, experimental community or whatever it is. I can't remember. Are you gig up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
100%, baby.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's just awesome.
I can download the Library of Congress, 0.3 seconds.
That's right. Well, so I was on the phone with sort of billing support, getting set up for my install appointment. And I don't remember the question that the guy asked, but, it's just a normal back and forth, sort of scheduling me, and will you be there? Do you have pets? So, all the stuff that they always ask. And he asked some question, and I don't even remember what my answer was, but it led to him saying, well, if you haven't seen this, let me show you something on our website. And he saved me like $5 a month on my bill with this one thing that he showed me. I'm not even a customer yet, and I'm already saving $5 a month. And this guy's awesome. It was a simple little thing, so simple that I literally don't remember what it was that he said, he asked, or I said. But it led to a richer, look, they've got me as a more loyal customer now.
Right.
If we want to get down to brass tacks, that's what happened. So my point being, I think it's that Maya Angelou quote about, people remember how you made them feel. That's a little bit of what happens when you are willing to just ask one more question. So that's what I wanted to bring to the table today.
No, I think that's powerful. And you're right. Because I asked you, I said, what exactly was the question? And you go, I don't know.
I just don't remember.
I do completely remember how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to walk away with. That person's a great listener. That person cares that,
Right.
that this company's interested, whatever the feelings are, right? The great questions, not the great presentation, but the great question,
Right.
will often take you there. And I think we ought to, before we check out, we need to offer a disclaimer about the why questions that start with why.
Yes.
Those are most of the time bad.
Yeah.
And so if you want to run a little experiment, say, I don't think Marshall's true. All I need you to do is, we've talked about this before, just go home, let your significant other walk in the room and look at them and go, why did you wear that shirt today? Just let me know how it goes, right? Or have them set a plate before you of a meal that they have prepared. Just look at it and go, so why'd you make this for dinner? Just let me know. Send us in the comments how that goes with your why question.
Love it.
Yeah. In very rare instances, they work. The majority of the time, if you can turn that into a what question, yeah.
Life will be a lot better for you.
Life will go better, and you'll have these conversations that we're talking about, whether they're conversations that take you deeper into a relationship, or they're conversations that make sure that what you're responding with is relevant to what's important to the person across from you.
Yeah.
Either way, you're better off.
Great point. All right. Well, I think this is, just such a basic concept. You'd wonder how we turned it into an episode, but man, if you were going to start a New Year's resolution, if this was the kind of thing that you did, having a habit of getting to where you ask just one more question, it can really transform the relationships you have with those around you and with the customers you're interacting with. So we hope, as always, that this is something that's useful for you, and invite you to like, subscribe, share, whatever it is we're supposed to say right now if we were, a legit, fully functioning, professional podcast. Right?
Right. From Amateur Hour, this is Max and Marty signing off with a word from our announcer. That sounded pretty professional.
That did. That sounded good.
I have to use that more often.
And there you have it, another session of contemporaneous extemporizing from Mark and Mike. I know it's redundant, but consider who we're talking about. As always, feel free to share the ideas you heard here. No rights are reserved, no permissions needed. Thanks. See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.